Before you put the cap on, you want to make sure your hair is clean and dry. And then you're going to brush it straight back like this. And I'm just using a little kit from Sally's. This scrunchy part, that goes towards the back of your neck. So you're just gonna pop this thing on. You'll wanna make sure that this is really tight. If you move it up so you can see better, you're gonna create a gap, and that will make your highlights look grown out even though you just did them. So the tighter the cap, the cleaner and closer to the scalp the highlights are gonna be. You can cut this if you want, and then you'll tie it here. All caps are double lined, so it has a piece of plastic with no holes, and the cap itself has little holes already punched out. So how this is going to work is you're gonna go through one of the holes that are already available, pierce through the plastic, pull the hair out. This little plastic layer that you're going to pierce through is necessary so you don't get any bleeding when you put the color or lightener on top of the cap. The circles and the non-circles are going to represent your pattern, so you need to figure out what you want your pattern to look like. So if you want a heavy highlight, you can do all the holes. Here, 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 here. If you want a medium highlight, or if you're doing a darker color, low light, doesn't matter. You can do all the circles or the alternate, all the non-circles. You can do diagonal patterns, zigzag patterns that look like little teeth. I want a medium to low amount of highlight, so I'm just going to do the circles here. Now I'm going to mark on my cap where my part line is. I always part my hair in the middle. If you part your hair to both sides, you're gonna skip this step. And I'm also going to do my best to outline my hairline. There's my ear. Well, that didn't go so great. Bring that up a bit. Okay, actually that looks terrible. These are the parts that I personally want to avoid. I don't want highlights on my part line. It's just a personal preference. I find it okay to do highlights on the part line with foils, but with cap highlights, it's very obvious that there's highlights. So to make it look more natural, I do avoid the part line. But if you have super short hair, a pixie cut, a male cut, you'll just want to do all over. And the hairline here, I like to avoid because you have to be mindful when you pull the hair back. If you have a highlight here, a little stripe, 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 and it grows out, it's very obvious. But again, that's personal preference. You may just want to do them on the hairline. That's totally fine. And for me, I'm going to draw another little shape here. I want to avoid all of that in general because I want this to look very natural. And I'm also only going to do a partial, which is about half my head, the top of the head. If you bought the kit from Sally's, it comes with a plastic crochet hook. Those are fine. I just prefer to use a metal one. They're the same size. So pretend my finger is the cap. You're gonna take the hook at a slight angle, go through the hole, stab through the plastic, and dig some hair, just like a little scoop of ice cream. Scoop, scoop. You don't want to drag the hair and then pull it out, because then you have about this much that you're not going to be able to color, and it's going to look grown out already. So going through the first hole, scooping up some hair, pulling it through. And I'm pulling very small pieces of hair. And don't worry if it has little fish hooks like that. We'll get those out at the end. And I would also suggest doing very small pieces of hair, especially with cap highlights. You have a little bit less control with the cap than you do foils, but it is a lot easier to do on yourself. So it's better to just do a lot of little pieces of hair versus just a few chunky pieces of hair, because they will look very, very chunky. But the cap is great to do, especially on the back of your hair. I have a hard time foiling the back of my hair. It's just hard to do. So this is a lot easier. We're taking the crochet hook through the hole that's already punched out, slight angle, punching through the plastic and grabbing a little piece of hair. Now let me show you what to do if you grab too much hair. So if you really get crazy and you see that that is way too much hair, take the crochet hook, slide it under, and drag it back out. Pull that right on out until you get a smaller amount. And I know this may seem a little dated, because it is, but again, these are super easy to do at home when you can't see the back of your hair, for shorter haircuts, men. And my favorite thing about these is the even processing time. So you have to think when you're doing highlights, you're foiling, bleach, foiling, bleach, foiling, bleach. With this, you apply the lightener or bleach on at the same time, so everything processes at exactly the same time. Some downsides or negatives are they tend to look a bit chunky if you don't do them super thin. Oh, I have a hair extension there. And if you make too big of holes like this one, I don't know if you can see that, that's where I pulled it and noticed that was a hair extension there, and you get lightener in here, it's gonna bleed through and bleach and make a tiger stripe, which I'll show you how to avoid when we put the color on. So once you've got all the hair pulled out that you want, all of this I'm gonna put lightener on, and you can use color also for low lights. You want to comb through this Make sure all the hair is pulled out. You don't want any hair that has a little fish hook because then just the bend will get colored and it'll have a little stripe on it. So you want to make sure all this is combed back. I'm going to use this bright white from Sally's. It's a cream lightener, and normally you would measure this and it's a 1:2 ratio, but I want this to be a thicker consistency. So I'm just going to eyeball it with developer, and we're using 20 volume today. And I'm going to make this more of a 1 to 1.5 ratio. And if you got the kit, it came with this mini little color brush. Oh, it's really stiff though. I hate a stiff brush. That is still a little too thin, so we'll add a little bit more lightener. And the reason you want this so thick is because it's less likely to bleed through those holes. You want it to look like royal icing, where it's not going to fly off there. Now we're going to start painting this on. And there is no processing time for this. I would like mine to get to a caramel color to keep it looking more natural. It'll probably take about 5 to 10 minutes. But with lightener, you just have to watch it. And I'm focusing mainly at the root area because the ends are already lighter, so I don't want to overlap it too much. That will cause breakage. We left a friend out here. And then at the end, I'm going to paint it on the cap, but only going one direction. I'm not going to go like this all directions because again, I don't want it to seep through that hole I've created. So just one direction. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse mine, and you're gonna rinse it with the cap on. You don't want to pull this off with the color all mangled together. It's gonna snag and break your hair. Rinse it, I'll put conditioner on the ends, and then pull the cap off. Now you'll be able to pull this straight off. So you can see the highlights. Doesn't look like there's any bleeding, which is nice. I'm gonna shampoo my whole head and then apply a toner. And the toner we're going to use is the Redken Shades EQ dupe, and this is 8VB. That means this is a level 8, so it's a darker blonde. And its tonality is violet and blue. Violet cancels out yellow, blue cancels out orange. It's going to cancel out that orange warm tint that some of these pulled, and also help with the rest of my hair with that golden tone. And these are mixed in a 1:1 ratio, so equal parts. And instead of developer 10, 20, 30, it uses this liquid processing solution. See, it'll be very liquidy. You could even put this in a bottle and just squirt it on the hair. So this is gonna go on after I shampoo. Towel dried hair, 15 minutes. Just rinse it out and then conditioner on the ends. So no shampooing it out. And this toner, well, all toners, it's going to tone all of my hair. So the parts of my hair that are a level 10, the brightest blonde, it's going to tone it down to a level 8. So it's going to make it darker. The only way to avoid that, if you're just wanting to tone certain parts of your hair, is to literally pick out those parts. Very tedious task. This toner is a demi-permanent, so it's going to fade out with each shampoo, and these toners in general, this brand, they don't last very long at all. So even if you tone it too dark, it's not going to last very long. And the application for this is literally just slapping this on as quick as possible. Remember, the hair is towel dried, so it's going to lather really well. It should have kind of like a shampoo consistency, a little sudsy. And I like to put it on my root first lately because I'm getting a lot of grays, so it helps blend those. It doesn't cover them, but it helps blend them. I personally like them. I think it's something to be proud of, that I've been here long enough in whatever this is to get those little silver streaks, and then just running it through the ends.